This proves out too, like, going in the what we call the pooch punts, the pooch area, the directional stuff. We're working on it, but I thought he did a pretty good job with that last year. So, we're doing a lot of work. It's awesome to have our practice facility because, we can kick with the wind, against the wind, and now we have that other field where we're kicking with crosswinds. So, that's always a factor with the winds in Nebraska. We've been getting them this spring. We got them all last year, so that's a factor in the big ball kicks for Brian. It's also a factor in the kicking part of it. So Tristan, is working on that as well. Tristan coming out of the season at 60%, that's not good enough for us to win more than 5 games probably. So we have to get that percentage up significantly. And he has shown that so far. He's having a good spring for us. And, he's made some improvements in his technique and he's stronger. So we're making improvements, but the theme is for both of those guys is to get better. We're also working with a new snapper. So, Camden Watucky's been snapping as a new snapper and they're getting used to him, not used to him, but they're just, getting into the rhythm of working together.
How's that Watucky? How's that picture look? I mean, you guys have not had any trouble in that area at all, right?
Why? Why you got to say that? You're like my son. He's like, it's like a jinx. Yeah. Well, that's. There's been Marco set the trend last year, and Marco was a consummate pro. We were really fortunate to get him, and he's done really well out in the circuit and got himself invited to different combines, and a lot of NFL teams are looking at him right now. So for Camden to be able to work with him last year was really critical, and got a really not just a sense of like how to snap the football, but also how to perfect your craft. I mean, Marco was working all the time. You guys understand, like they're trying not just to get the ball to the holder, they're trying to get the ball to the holder so the holder can just take it and put it down and doesn't have to move the laces at all. So, I think Marco is as good a short snapper as I've worked with, and he was great with that, and he was meticulous about the details. And for Camden to see that was really cool. So, he had a good year experience behind Marco, and now he's got to step up and do it.
Replicate that level of consistency?
It's just we were talking about this today. We were talking about this today with Camden, where to try to get that level of consistency where the laces are perfect, and perfection is perfection. We're always striving for it, but we don't always get it. So sometimes, Amy, we're looking at like 85 or 90% when it's all said and done. But like you just got to go and rep. So today we were talking about. He's like, Coach, I shot that thing back the same way, and it was a half turn, meaning I had to Brian had to turn the ball, and then the next time it was perfect. So he has to have a feel for the velocity of the snap and counting the rotations of the ball coming back. It's that amount of detail. So he just has to he's working with making sure that velocity and how the ball feels coming out of his hand, is the same every time. He again, because he's worked under Marco, because he's that kind of kid, he said to me, in the last practice, he had put a couple of snaps inside and said, Coach, look at my feet. And, one of his feet was staggered. And it was like, I had to look at it real close, but it was like, 2 inches. But it's like a golf swing. It's the same thing over and over and over again with the perfect technique, the perfect hand motion, the feet placed the right way. And again, we're not just talking about snapping it so that he can catch it like Charlie Brown and Lucy, it's like when they used to catch it, or it's like that ball's got to be there and just put right down to give us the best chance to get it through.
What kind of growth have you seen from Tristan 1 year in? Now is there more consistency in the routine that he goes through every time he kicks the ball?
Yeah, there's a lot more. Like and it's a lot more things that we were able to work on together, coming through. And the resources here are great. So, we can send film, or I could talk to guys like Chris Brown or Brett Maher or Alex Henry. These are all guys that I have, I could talk to on a regular basis to kind of look at things and see if it's like a sounding board. And I've gotten to the point now, and this didn't happen to the degree that I wanted it to during the season, to be perfectly honest with you, where I know how he's lining up and exactly, what it looks like. Because, even though I worked with him last summer a little bit, as we got into the season, there were a number of things that we were working on technically. And it's like, he's 18 years old, so it's like, do you want to go in there and make wholesale changes to what he's done? And so I was really trying to look at what we were doing and simplify it for him. But now we're way better on the same page in terms of exactly, and it's really regards to the setup on the ball and on how he's lining up, he's grown. In just us growing together and him being able to get that approach down is way more consistent and I think way better. And he's stronger. So he's been, another year or another 6 months in our weight program. So his core strength is better. He's got a strong leg, as you guys know, but he's hitting it with a lot of confidence right now.
Since he came in here with so much hype and praise and all that, I mean, did you find yourself, since he was just a freshman, having to boost his confidence all while still coaching him, saying, hey, it's going to be all right, you're young, you're going to make mistakes?
Yeah, and that's how coaching is now in this day and age, really, with just about everybody. But in a situation where you're starting a freshman, it's especially evident. But there's a fine line between pushing and backing off and and encouraging and getting them to stay focused. So that's the hardest part about coaching. And then you got the guys in your room, whether I was coaching the tight ends or the O-line or now special teams, they all have kind of different approaches and different buttons to push or different ways to motivate them to get them to perform. So most of it was with Tristan and with the guys nowadays, there's not a lot of pushing them to become more intense. It's really the other part of it. They're so obsessive at times with their craft that and everything that they do is out in front of the whole world now. It's not like when we played, it was like you could make a mistake and nobody cared or nobody knew. Now it's like they put so much pressure with this social media identity that they have that they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. I can't even imagine, if you think about Tristan, right? So he's 18 years old. He's been coming to the stadium since he's been 5 years old with his grandfather, and he goes through his whole life. He's watching from the stands for 15 years, and now all of a sudden, he goes into what's the 13th grade, and he's now on the field kicking. Can you guys even imagine what that would be like? I mean, it's like you put yourself in those shoes, and it's like wow, yeah. But he's really good. Tristan's really good with he's intense. He's locked in, he's focused, and he can miss one, and then he can flush it, and he can take a breath, and he can get himself back to that square one. And he rarely misses two in a row. If he misses one, he's fixing it, and it's on to the next one. He's really, for a young kid, he's got, really good maturity that way.
With the NFL kind of changing their kickoff approach, I mean, do you foresee that being in college soon, or
That was us last spring. Did you see on spring that? We were on the cutting edge of that. I don't know I don't have any idea what the college game will do, but it's not surprising to me that that the NFL is trying. I applaud the NFL for trying something different, because I know that there's an element of the NFL. There's an element of anything that is successful where it's like do you really want to change it? So I don't know what the data is in terms of the true amounts of injuries at the college game as opposed to the NFL. I know when I was a special teams coach in the NFL, they were looking at the punt play for soft tissue injuries, and the data had come back to us, and we had gotten in the room as special teams coaches and said we want an answer for soft tissue injuries on the punt play, and we all sat down about, it was about 40 of us on a Zoom call talking about the ways that the injury, we watched all the plays where guys got injured. I don't know what the data is right now at the college level on that particular play, but I would, I think that there's always, whenever you're looking at things to do, make changes in the game for safety's sake, why not try it? I mean, it's worth it to try to see how you can make the game safer. So I could see it happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't either.
Did you connect with Cam Jurgens and talk about the Eagles?
Of course. After I almost ran him over in the cart today, out there. We drive a golf cart around because we have 3 fields going. So wherever the kicks need to go, I'm zipping around in the cart. And we were talking about. We're absolutely talking about the Eagles for sure. We're talking about Jason Kelsey, how he came out of WrestleMania 72 out there and had the mask on, and him and Lane Johnson came out in Philadelphia for WrestleMania and wrestled their way to stardom.
There's a lot of early enrollees on this team. Have you found an eagerness with some of those guys even popping their head in your office wanting to be a part of things?
Yeah, there are, and there's some that aren't. So and the ones that do are a little bit ahead, but the team is there's so much leadership and maturity with regards to special teams on our team that the new enrollees are, even if they're really good and they're coming in, and a lot of them are like a lot of those young defensive players, they're coming in like I tell them, I say, guys, if you come into my office and we talk special teams, I tell them 5 minutes, and sometimes it's 5 or 6, but I'm not going to give them a lecture on life. I'm going to come in and say, here's your reps, here's what you did in practice today, and here's what you can do better. And I say, that's 5 minutes, that's it, because I don't want them to be like, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go into Coach Foley's office and he's gonna give me a lecture or he's gonna beat me down. I'm not. I'm just saying, here's what we need to do, and pay attention in the meetings. And the older guys are so helpful. Like, there's so many veteran players that are helping with all that now. And all they have to do, like, I literally tell them, I'm like, just watch the guy in front of you, like. Isaac Gifford's going to go up there and he's going to do it just about perfectly. And if you watch him do it, then you can learn from that. So, and then Isaac's coaching him to do it. So, but yeah, there's some really talented players there that are going to really help us on special teams, and it's my job to just get them progressed along in the spring as much as possible.
Yeah, working at punt return.
Ethan Nation's working at punt returner. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda is a guy that's doing it, but he's limited in terms of his injuries. So Ethan's taking some reps back there. There's some other young player. Beyond him, like, because he's done it a little bit on the field for us, and he's working. Like, he came out. We would have the jugs out there right after the signing date, and he'd go out there and catch 30 or 40 a day. And the issue here in Nebraska, well, the issue anywhere, but like especially here, is like tracking the ball. We have a bunch of guys that can catch a punt. It's the actual watching the ball, and with the wind conditions, and then we go from jugs to Jacob Hole's doing some punting for us, so they go from Brian to Jacob to the jugs, and then you got, like I said, if you're on the turf field, you got a crosswind. If you're on the grass field, you got the wind either in your face or at your back. So all those things are the guys are making really good progress with that. Other guys other than those two are making progress with it, but. That'll be. We got to build. My job is to build. We got to get 4 or 5 guys that can do that. As we ran into that a little bit last year, where we had some injury issues with that, and it was. But we need a major improvement in that area.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Questions?
How's it going? It's a little quiet in here.
It's such an established group of veterans, but a lot of younger guys as well. How have you kind of managed the spring reps, just knowing what you already have and then some of the guys you want to get going?
I think, Coach Rule's genius, right? Splitting up the teams 3 ways. They all get about the same amount of reps. So it's not much managing going on. It's just a lot of reps, and those guys just working. The young guys, inexperienced guys, you really only get better at football playing football. So it's been good so far. They've been working. You can't hide. So
How was Bly fit in as a portal addition? And I don't know if we've talked to you since he joined. What made you interested in him as a player, having him here?
I was interested in him because he's a really good player. His size and his speed and his ability to cover, he's a good player. He fits in. He fit right in. Like, he's a good human, and that room is full of those guys. They've been trying to get pretty tight. You need to be able to gel in the secondary, and we're doing a good job with it. They're working at it. So I like him. He's a sophomore. He's like 18. He's the same age as any other freshmen. So he's been working out pretty well.
I know there was sort of a tug of war for Jeremiah, receiver DB.
Yeah.
How do you win that one, and just what can you see out of him, or how have you seen him grow this spring so far?
I mean, so for a guy who barely played football in high school, and his athletic traits are well documented, but the thing you wouldn't notice about him if you didn't know him is he's very competitive. He's really smart. And he's also really tough. So it's just a natural fit for him at DB. I'm not saying the receivers aren't tough. but it's just a natural fit with him, and he's just working at it. I won the tug of war. I just kept bugging Coach Rue, please let me have him, and it's paying off so far. He's got to keep working, but all the young DBs do.
How do you feel about what Gifford and Marquise Buford and Tommy are giving you as far as the guidance, the leadership?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say thank you to my seniors, those guys who are leaving, who left, and they want to, pursue an NFL career, because really it started with them. When I first got here, they didn't know me, but those guys just bought in right away, and it just set the tone for it. And now Gift's been in the system for 2 years now. He knows what we expect, and it's just uphill. Like we're fine-tuning Gift. Like when we first got here, we had to do some overhaul, but now it's just fine-tuning, just working on his coverage ability and all, That's been the focus for him. And guys like Keese and Tommy and Deshaun, those guys, they know what to expect, and you can just see it. Like I kind of compare it to like when you first move in a house and you wake up in the middle of the night and it's dark and you kind of tiptoe around, but then you stay in the house for a month or two and then you know exactly where everything is, so you move at a better pace. That's where those guys are now.
What does Gifford do particularly well?
Everything. Legitimately, Isaac Gifford is one of the best players in the country, and pretty soon you all will see. Like he's a warrior. He's tough. That's why he's got the single digit. You see him out there, shoulder harness. He does not want to miss a rep. He covers well. He knows the defense at a high level. He knows offense at a high level. Of course, he tackles well. That's well documented. Even before I got here, he was that. He's just one of those guys, like, it's a coach's dream. Like everything I ask him to do, he just does it. And then he holds the other guys accountable for not doing it. So he doesn't have a weakness.
You say he is focusing on his coverage a little bit, his pass coverage?
Yes. Yep. So as a DB, everybody, like Tommy Hill's a pretty good cover guy. He's working on the finer details of covering. So we have to cover better because we want to improve on third down. We want to take the ball away more on defense. We didn't do enough. Obviously last year was last year, but we want to improve on those things. So all of the DBs are working on coverage. Not as if it was a weakness for Isaac, but that's what he's working on now.
How does he go about leading in your observation?
Yeah, whatever the team needs. He's a high-level emotional intelligence guy. If he's talking to a young guy and they need a pep talk, he'll be a cheerleader. And if he's talking to the older guys and they need an enforcer, he'll do that too. He's just one of those guys that makes the room better. He makes the team better.
Dwight Boodle got hurt last year.
Yeah.
Where's he at right now, kind of in that conversation?
So he picked up where he left off. The arrow was pointing up for him, and I think it is right now. He missed a lot of football, so he's got to play the game of football and learn the intricacies of different techniques and defensive calls and all. But I think he's going to be a really good player, and I don't see any leftover ailment from his shoulder. So he's been doing a good job.
As you guys went back and reviewed last season, were there reasons why you didn't get as many takeaways as you thought you could have with the defense you guys played otherwise?
So when you first, at least in my experience, when you first learn the defense, you spend most of the time trying to remember what to do. And then as the season goes, you know what to do, and now you can focus on what the offense is trying to do. So I can't really do step 3 and 4 if I can't fully grasp step 1. So they need to know it at a level where they can teach it. And defense is all reactionary, so they need to know it and be able to react within the first blink of the snap. So I think just knowing the defense and putting ourselves in the position and also knowing the offense will help us.
Have you seen it bear out here in spring camp?
Say it one more time, I'm sorry.
Have you seen more takeaways now in spring camp because these guys know the defense?
Yeah, I have. And I've seen more opportunities for takeaways. I've seen more effort for takeaways. I've seen a better grasp of the defense as a whole.
Particularly with the young guys in your room, what have you seen from their versatility or their ability to learn all those different secondary spots?
I mean, the young guys, they fit right in, Sometimes it's trial by error. Sometimes it's feeding them through a fire hose, but they just pick up. Like Mario Buford, I got him playing 3 different positions. He just kind of goes out and he does it and he gives his effort. You know, those young guys, they just fit right in. Again, the leadership from Quentin, the leadership from Phelan, the leadership from Ashton, the leadership from the older guys, right? The Omar Browns, you know, it just carries over. And now, you know, Tommy Hills, he's up now. And he knows how to do it because those guys did it before him.
Anything else for Coop?
You know, with Marquise now and Mario, is there just a quality of play from the Buford family that you've noticed between the two of them?
Well, I like those two. I'm not sure how good his father is, but I like those two guys. Those guys, they play hard. They know football, and they're tough. They're tough people. You know, I like tough people. That room is tough, so there's nowhere to hide. So he kind of fits in.
Tony White's name got thrown out this offseason. How happy are you, though, that he's coming back for another year and leading this defense?
Yeah, I've not known Coach White for very long, but I feel like I've known him my whole life. Like, when you guys talk to him, you can feel it. Like, he's one of those guys. Like, I love being around Coach, and whether he was here or not, I'm happy. If he could go somewhere and elevate his career and elevate his family and the way he lives, I'm all for that. But I am relieved that he's here because I think we accomplished a couple things on defense, but we left a lot on the table. So I think we just kind of getting better in year 2 of the system. It helps.
What's the next step for a guy like Hartzog?
Yeah.
I mean, what does he need to do off of last season to take that jump?
I should probably apologize to Malcolm. I put Malcolm in a bunch of sticky situations due to injuries and stuff, and now this spring I'm just having him focus on one position. I know he can play them all, but I just want him to fine-tune the things at one position, and I've seen him grow in that area, and it's been fun to watch. You know, he's just comfortable now. Instead of me moving him all over the place like a bad coach, like whatever. But he's been working at it, so I'm happy with his progress. What position? Say that again?
What position is he?
He's a safety.
He's playing
Yeah, he's
safety?
playing safety now. Yeah, and he can flip over and play corner if I needed him to, but it's just good for him to be able to stay in one position and work at it. Say that again?
Why do you like him there?
Our field safety is kind of like a nickel in certain positions or certain down the distances, and he can do those things. And he's also really smart and tough. He can play in the post. He can play man. He can play in halves. He can blitz. He can do all those things. And in the NFL, teams who play with a nickel, that's kind of like one of the most important pieces, you know, because the nickel, they have to be very versatile, and that's what Malcolm is.
Does that reflect also, though, your confidence in the corners that are on hand?
You know, I try not to project too far out. I think the corners are doing a good job right now, and we'll just keep working at it. It's more of a reflection of my trust in Malcolm to hold that position and do what he needs to do. I think the corners will be fine, you know. At this point last year, same amount of questions. We just wanted to attack it day to day. So I think that's what we're doing. I do see a difference in knowledge and comfortability and the playmaking ability outside. So it's been good to watch. All right.
Thank you.
Oh.
rookie, 20.
23. Yeah, feeling it.
You're a veteran. I mean, what's your approach now, year 2 of a new staff or of the staff going through a spring ball like this?
Personally, for me, it's working on my craft, just to round out my game. You know, I know the defense, and so now I'm just working on myself, working on my footwork, being deliberate in my practice, and just making sure I'm a well-rounded player come fall.
How often do some of the younger guys go to you for support and help with things?
You know, quite often. Being an old guy, I want to be able to have guys come up to me. I want to be approachable. I want them to come to me and ask questions. You know, I've been here long enough that I've seen and played a lot of football. So, you know, they have been coming up to me, and I'm glad they are.
How much more intentional are you about that leadership part of it? You know, we saw some of that in the Jason 3 documentary that they featured. Is that a regular part of what you're doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, it is. You know, and mat drills, it's a lot more intense. You know, it's a intense environment, and tempers flare and emotion comes out. But yeah, you know, I want to keep that same energy going into spring ball. You know, Coach Coop talked about it this morning. You know, that first year you learn the process, and then you live the process, and then you defend it. So I think I'm in that defending stage, and I want to keep on doing that.
What have you seen from Tommy in the last year to get to where he is now from where he was?
Oh, since I've been here and when he first came in, he's taken ginormous strides from where he was at. He's really becoming a great football player and an even better leader in the room.
What do you think of just the speed or maybe playmaking ability that you have in the secondary this year?
We have a lot of it. There's a lot of guys that can do a lot of good things for us this year. And gosh, I mean, even on the offense, you could see there's a difference in speed. You know, guys like Lloyd and all the new guys coming in, there's speed everywhere. There's speed on the back end, and there's speed in the skill positions.
Cooper referenced a couple things left on the table in talking about what you guys accomplished defensively last year. How much did that factor in for you in the decision to play another season?
It was pretty big for me. I had a lot of things go into my decision-making process, but that was one of them. I didn't feel like I got done what I wanted to get done.
In all your years of playing football and talking football with Luke, what's maybe the biggest thing that he's taught you when it comes to getting on the field, or when you finally do get on the field, or anything you've taught or that he's taught you?
For me, my biggest problem or just barrier is myself. It's really just getting out there and trusting myself, you know, getting out there and knowing that I put the work in and just play football. You know, that's been the biggest thing that he and I have talked about, because we both had that problem. And so I think we both kind of got to a point where we're just playing free.
Does he critique your game a lot still or not?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He critiques my game all the time. You know, he'll be talking about past games. You know, like, yeah, I watched the Wisconsin game over. You could have done this better. You know, and I'm like, geez, dude, I'm past that, but okay.
What are you guys doing to maybe improve the number of takeaways you get, and how's that going?
That's a huge emphasis for us as a football team, as a defense. Drills, we're drilling it. You know, we're drilling, taking the ball away. We're being deliberate about it in practice, you know, talking about it before we take the field every down. So it's just really just putting our mind to, hey, we got to punch it out every chance we can get.
In your role, what have you seen just from the new quarterbacks? I mean, the two new. I mean, have they challenged you?
Oh, yeah.
Typical.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it was Raiola hit me deep today. Oh gosh, it was a beautiful ball. But they can both sling it, Danny and Raiola. And you know, Heinrich's been having a great spring too. He's been throwing some dots.
What do you think it's a kind of a different receiving group.
Yeah.
You've got some freshmen who haven't been here before, and then you have the two new transfers. What it's been like covering, you know, those guys.
Yeah, you know, like I said a little bit ago, there's speed out there, man. There's guys that are flying. it's been fun because it really pushes me to up my game in practice, and really, it gives me real life reps, so this fall I'll be ready to go.
How do you go about making spring, you talked about some of the things that you want to do, but just more in general, how do you go about making spring productive and enjoyable when you've been in the program for as many years as you have?
It's just looking at it with the approach of, man, I get to do this again. A lot of people don't get the chance to come and play football for their 5th year, and I get that chance, so I'm just going to take advantage of it.
Has the spring league helped make it more fun for you?
Yeah, it's competitive, man. Everybody wants to win, and it comes out, so it's pretty fun.
So like a winning team got like a free meal out of, is that what you guys played for?
Yeah, last night I think it was Green Gatell, I think guys went to, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
We'll finish our questions. Tristan O'Hara, for questions.
Tristan, what was the most valuable lesson you learned during that first year as a kicker here?
Honestly, I didn't feel like any moment was too big for me at all. I felt really comfortable, no matter the game or situation. I think just getting that experience, getting to kick in front of a few more faces and in bigger stadiums. I think that was probably the biggest adjustment. But I mean, again, there's no moment too big for me, and I loved every minute of it.
What has this offseason been like for you?
Really well. I think I've done really well. I've been strong. I think I've worked really hard in the off season. I think one of my mentors, that I knew before I came here, with relationship with Chris Brown, I think that's really helped me. I've worked with him a lot in the off season. Whether it's back in Omaha for spring break or whatever. But we're looking at film. But he's been a huge mentor to me, and seeing what Coach Foley sees, and the rest of the specialists, getting their opinions and seeing what they see on film when we break it down, it's been huge for me this winter for sure.
How much work have you put into the part of your game where everything's the same on every kick, from your steps to your placement, all the stuff that you have to focus on as a kicker? When you're a freshman, was it how perfect was that craft for you and compared to where you want it to be?
Sure. I think there was definitely some inconsistency my freshman year, with my steps and kind of the whole process. I feel really kind of polished and consistent now. That's something we really hammered in the offseason, same process every kick, no matter the situation. Obviously something like aiming points, depending on where I am on the field and with the wind, that'll change from kick to kick, but the same process, that doesn't change, and that's the same thing no matter the kick.
How has your relationship with Coach Foley evolved since you got here?
It's been great. He's with him coming from the NFL, he's worked with some of the best guys in the world at my job, and so he's really gotten to kind of learn over the years. He'll be the first to tell you, he played center. He didn't kick the ball, but he's really learned a lot over the years, and that's something that he kind of talks about, and he's proud of himself. He's able to talk to us about kind of what we do, because we have a unique job. So, but him being able to talk to us really is good.
I know you kicked in Memorial Stadium the one time before you kicked the whole season there, but did the win in the Big Ten and in Memorial Stadium, was that a unique experience for you to kind of work through some of the difficulties of kicking the ball in that weather and in that wind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, kicking in the Big Ten is hard. It's the hardest conference to kick in, I'd say. In the SEC, those guys are playing down there when it's 50 degrees out, and it's just like, well, it's November here, and it's 20, and there's 30-mile-an-hour gusts, in my face or crosswind. So it's nothing like kicking in the Big Ten, and I think Memorial Stadium's hard to kick in for sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm from here. I got to deal with it, and my job is to go out there and put the ball through the pipes, and that's what I'm going to do.
Was there another stadium that was that was challenging?
I'd say last year probably Illinois. I mean, they call it the Windy City for a reason. I mean, it's near Chicago. Obviously, it's not. Yeah, it's Champaign, but that was a tough one for sure. I mean, it's different every night. It just depends what kind of elements you're going to get there. They're unpredictable in the Big Ten.
You mentioned that relationship with Chris Brown. I can't remember, when did that start to take off, and what's it like? There's obviously guys who have come through this program who have had great success kicking, to have that network of guys.
Yeah, well, my relationship with Chris really started when I was in high school. I mean, his son was my holder my junior year, and I mean, I've been family friends with them for a long time, and that's a great resource to have. And along with the other kickers who've kicked here, I mean, I'm really lucky to be in the situation where I am. Getting to talk to Brett Maher, Alex Henry, Sam Cook. I mean, anyone who's kicked here. I mean, I'm in a really lucky position, and it's great to be able to have those resources almost on speed dial.
Nebraska's had a lot of emphasis on competition, spring league and things. How does that competition show up for kickers? How do you stay competitive?
Yeah, I mean, the specialists aren't really on any of those teams. We're kind of on all three teams or none of the teams, and if you look at it that way. But they use us. Like today, I know we had like a 2-minute situation. It was, so the ball was on the plus 40, and we got a minute left, and they got to score a touchdown to win or a field goal to force overtime. So I mean, they definitely use us. And last week it was red zone, so we were involved in that too. If the offense, they're in range. If they don't score a touchdown, they're calling our number. So I mean, they really use us, and it's good that we're going to be a part of that, because it simulates a real life game. So it's great.
What's the longest kick you've made so far in camp?
I think I think during the spring league we went back to 58. I made 58, I think, last week.
Like, do you know what the outer edge of your range is? Like when you guys are just screwing around, kicking it as far as you can?
I mean, whenever I'm on the field, I'd say that we got a good chance to be in range. But I mean, get the ball to cross the 50, and we'll start thinking about it.
Coach Foley was talking about how you'd come to this stadium with your grandpa ever since you were young and all that. I mean, so you've known the pressure of that position at Nebraska, and you said no kick's too big for you. How did you not let the pressure become too much for you when so many eyes are on you and your history here?
Honestly, I think I've had a really kind of good background when it comes to like my mental training. That really plays a huge part in kind of just my process. I mean, I have a lonely job. Look at pitchers, look at a golfer. We're kind of the solo man on an island sometimes. So I think just kind of trusting your mental approach and trying to find that consistency. The same kick mentality and just same process every kick. That's huge.
Are you and Brian Buschini good for each other in that way?
Yeah.
And is there some comfort there that can actually impact your performance when the two of you are both doing this for the second year together?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that Brian's great. I think I mean, we have a really good snapper, Cam. He's been really good for us so far this spring. And I think I mean, every kick before we go out there, me and Brian are always talking about aiming points and figuring out a target to aim at, and that's huge. So that's something we do. Trying to really hammer down the same process before every kick. That's just building consistency, and it's only going to make us better.
Thanks, Tristan.
Yeah, thank you.